The Supreme Court has delivered a bombshell ruling, fundamentally reshaping the future of American democracy and the power of your vote. Tonight, the details on that decision and what it means for the next time you head to the polls.
I already know a lot of people are not about to like what I'm about to say, and that's cool. But grifters are one of the worst things that happen in the black community in the 21st century.
And we're talking about all communities tonight. No credentials or real experience, but they want your money anyway on social media. Ahead, the rise of the digital grifter selling success in the DMs. We'll be breaking it down on The Factor Uncensored.
The Isiah Factor Uncensored starts now.
Welcome and thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored tonight. Today, a major decision from the Supreme Court that changes how our elections work. The Voting Rights Act has been a safety net to make sure every person's vote counts equally, regardless of their race, for decades. Today, the court weakened that net. In a new ruling, they've made it much more harder for citizens to challenge unfair voting maps, giving state politicians more power to decide how districts are drawn. It also comes amid a broader push for mid-decade redistricting. At least 6 states have redrawn their maps so far. We felt it right here in the state of Texas. President Trump is pushing more Republicans to follow suit.
I mean, some states don't need to redraw, and some do. I mean, I know what the concept of the rule, I just haven't seen the result. Yeah, I would say generally I would think that they would want to do it. Some are greatly helped, and some, didn't make much difference. Yeah, I would say they would do that. They have time to do it.
According to some critics, today's decision from the Supreme Court hollows out a landmark law. Let's get to our guests on The Factor Uncensored tonight. Joining us, political analyst Dr. Dietrich von Biedenfeld, University of Houston downtown professor Dr. David Branham, and Texas State Representative Jolanda Jones, and Ron Reynolds, both state representatives, and Angela Botts, conservative. Glad to have you all on The Factor Uncensored. Are you cheering this, Angela? What?
Well, I will say this. This did not kill the Voting Rights Act. It's basically, the Democrats are out there having an absolute cow right now because taking away race-based preferences in districting, I guess, is racist. This is, we're in a far different time than we were in 1865, in 1965, and perhaps Democrats should come up with some policies that people want to vote for. Because I'll tell you what, I lived in LA for a long time. My vote didn't mean jack, okay? But I still went out and voted. So unless someone is physically sitting on you, you have the right to go vote. And I suggest everybody exercise that right.
Dr. Branham, your assessment of this ruling from the Supreme Court?
Well, this ruling was actually pretty much made 33 years ago in Shaw versus Reno when they said that you can't have race-based districts. But this ruling takes it a step further because after Shaw versus Reno, Bush versus Vera said that you could consider race. Now they're basically saying you can't consider it anymore. So it's supposed to be somewhat of a blind redistricting process, which we all know is impossible. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing is across the country, we're seeing a complete mess with redistricting in states where they're basically taking your vote and throwing it away because they know how you're going to vote, and they draw districts to get an outcome. They don't draw districts to have an election, and that's the problem that I really have with this. And I think the Supreme Court has got a problem with the Constitution not really clarifying on this what they can do. And I think it's time for a constitutional amendment to get rid of this gerrymandering altogether and let people have their vote back.
All right, Dr. Man, what's your name?
This is going to be a rare occasion. I guess we were situated appropriately. I lean a little bit more towards Angela's point of view, which is that the court has been moving this direction for quite a while. And I don't exactly agree with Dr. Branham because I think race is still something that we can consider, but in a very minuscule context. The court has been abrogating their duty and sending everything back to Article 1, saying basically, if it's political gerrymandering, we don't have to like it, but we're not going to touch it. They did that in 2017 with Rucho. They've continuously backed off from the idea as we've allegedly, at least chronologically, evolved from 1865, and they say we don't need to really get into this idea of an ethnic a differentiation of votes. And so the court has really said this is a political problem. The challenge becomes if you ask people to voice their opinion at the polls to change these things, but you've concurrently removed their representation, I don't know how you ever actually get to a solution, because the majority will continue to trample on the minority right.
And Representative Jones, we've seen the decimation of minority districts here in Texas already. Your thoughts about where we're going with this ruling from the Supreme Court?
So let me say this. I know exactly how anti-black the racist redistricting was here in Texas. That's why Rev. Reynolds and I jetted and ran and went to New York and Chicago and wherever else we went to try to stop this. But they are decimating votes. The Calais case, which is what the Supreme Court ruled on today, actually was a case where the courts in Louisiana said that the maps that were drawn after the 2020 census diluted black vote. And they ordered them to go and create another black district because they had way less percentage in their congressional representation. So they go and they do exactly what the court said, because there was historic discrimination and dilution of the black vote. And then they come back. And what the Supreme Court has done, and they did this in our case, the case where we challenged what they did with our redistricting, is the court has said that you can politically gerrymander, but you can't racistly gerrymander. Well, if they say the maps in 2020 were racist, how do you fix it without considering the black vote? And so the Supreme Court came down 6-3, Republican versus Democrat, and they're just rubber stamping Trump's anti-blackness, and it's bothersome because what they're going to do is crack us and pack us into districts, and they're going to dilute. So they're going to come and they're going to divide up Houston, they're going to come and they're going to divide up Dallas, and they're going to make sure black vote doesn't cost as much. And the people that are going to be on the chopping block this legislative session are us, black state representatives. What you think?
Well, there you go. What do you think?
Isiah, this is a very dark day. I believe that John Lewis and other freedom fighters who made good trouble to pass the Voting Rights Act, they risked their lives to pass and end Jim Crow in this country. They're turning over their graves because what the Trump Supreme Court did today was a slap in the face. They basically are diluting the ability for black and brown communities to elect their representatives. And I wouldn't be the first African-American representative in Fort Bend County since Reconstruction if it wasn't for the passage of the Voting Rights Act. The Congressional Black Caucus is going to be decimated. This is going to have far-reaching impact that goes beyond Congress. It's going to go to state rep, state senate, county commissioner, city council seats. This is turning back the clock to Jim Crow in this country.
And Dr. Branham, really quick, what will Texas look like in the future if this holds?
Well, you see that Texas has a lot more white Republicans that are going to get elected. Now, I think that they've diluted their districts quite a bit, and the Republicans are vulnerable right now in this next election because things aren't going well for them. But the other thing that I would like to point out is that you don't have to have an African-American majority district to elect an African-American. Congressional District 18 is not African-American majority district, but many African-Americans get elected in those types of districts. So I don't think that the dilution is going to be quite as much as Representative Reynolds says, but it will be a dilution.
I see your face. You want to say something, but we're out of time. Thank you, guys. Still ahead tonight. The FCC puts Disney in the crosshairs after a controversial joke and a presidential demand for firings. Disney's TV licenses are suddenly on the line this year or rescheduled for another look. Plus, you can join in on the conversation tonight, too. Send me a text. The number is at the top of your screen. Is it at the top of the screen? Y'all slipping. It ain't at the top of the screen. The number is 713-581-9914. Is that it? I can't see that. I'm blind. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Do you want
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. From a late-night punchline to a federal showdown, the FCC is fast-tracking license renewals for Disney stations, a move that comes on the heels of President Trump calling for Jimmy Kimmel's job. Kimmel says his expected widow joke about Melania Trump was meant to be comedy, funny, but the government feels the joke has turned sour. Joining us to talk about this, host of podcast Uncivilized, Nate, host of the Angela Box Show, Angela Box, and legendary comedian, actor, producer, everything, Michael Colyar is here with us. So, Michael, when you hear the president is going after another comedian like yourself, and I'm sure you've met Jimmy Kimmel many times, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, first, I have a problem using the P word when I'm talking about Mr. Trump, okay? In 250 years of this country, this is the first time we haven't had a president. That's why I stand on that first and foremost. Secondly, he has said far worse things about people who've just died. And so it's not what do the people think, it's what does Trump think, because the followers go with whatever he says. What I am disappointed in is the American people, because we have a constitution that people died for, so we could have all the rights that he's stripping away every chance he could get. To think that DEI is not about taking it from black people, it's retarded to even say that. But everyone want to do polite society. Oh no, he's this and that. No, look at him for what he really is. This is the worst thing that ever happened to this country.
Okay.
Angela, your thoughts?
Come on,
well, I used to work for Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla many years ago on The Man Show. I was a receptionist. And I actually got name checked in Adam Carolla's memoir because we played a little joke on the Dixie Chicks, Natalie Maines. Fun story.
Nice.
He was not like this ugly, nasty viper that he is now. And here's the issue. This is this is the second time that Jimmy Kimmel has waded into these waters that are just unbelievably inappropriate. The first time he did it with Charlie Kirk, blamed his assassination on a MAGA person, which is a lie. And then 3 days before the latest assassination of Donald Trump, he says that Melania has the glow of an expectant widow. Let me just do a little thought experiment here. Let's pretend that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama didn't have their asses kissed for since 2008 to the current day, okay? And that the media was not crawling up their butts at every given time. Imagine if a Republican, like a Greg Gutfeld, who's kicking his ass in the ratings, by the way, a Greg Gutfeld or a Republican commentator decided to have a joke saying something about Michelle Obama having a glow. What would be the reaction? And by the way, the First Amendment pertains to the government. It does not pertain to corporations.
All right, Nate.
Wait a second, though. Hold just 1 second, because you're the better comedian than me. Let me say something. What Mr. Kimmel is doing is not Viper stuff. He is being a brilliant artist, and he's telling the truth about a guy who's wreaking havoc on our society, and he's doing it in a funny and classy way. He ain't being nasty about it. If you really want to study nasty, study Mr. Trump. I'm sorry.
All right, now, well, if the people that are upset with Jimmy Kimmel right now would just keep that same energy when Trump is talking about other politicians, their families getting attacked, what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband, and the way, like, after he got hit in the head, you know, from an attacker, and he was making fun of it, then it'd be like, oh, okay, but they champion that. The January 6th, they were rioters to hostages all of a sudden. It's just not the same energy from the top, and it's just a lot of government thugging happening right now to corporations, and hopefully, you know, free speech will stand, because that's what we need.
And Angela, you don't see a double standard there at all?
No, I don't, actually. And I would like to know the exact quote that Trump said about Nancy Pelosi's very heterosexual husband, who just happened to have a homeless man in his house with his underwear on, drinking drinks with him. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
Anyway. His sexuality doesn't matter. The point is he was attacked in his head with a hammer, and then the Trump
was the quote? What did he say?
I'm sure you can read it. You'll figure it out.
You tell me, because I've never heard that. What I will say is this.
Because you only read
Jimmy
what you want to
Kimmel,
read.
no, actually, the right knows what the left thinks. The left doesn't know what the right thinks. And she brought up January 6th again, which is a lie, which was a false flag and a setup, and has been proven to be a setup. There are 250 undercover FBI agents in the crowd setting the January 6ers up, who were there protesting the stolen election of 2020.
Hilarious.
She's gonna be on your show this weekend.
She's hilarious. That's the funniest shit I've heard in a long time.
That's very funny.
Hilarious. Okay, what happened on the 6th 6 is a travesty, and not just to America, but to
Inciting.
any freedom on the planet. And for people to sit around and act like it was okay, let black people do that. They'd all been dead
Have you
on
heard?
them stairs.
I'm sorry.
Does
anyone remember?
Guys,
You be
we
dead.
gotta give
2020
Michael
George
Colyar the rest
Floyd
of the time in just a
Anyone
second.
remember
We'll be back with the legend, Michael Colyar. Stay with us here on The Factor.
This is good.
Kroger
This program is being brought to you by Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. The incomparable Michael Colyar will soon be hitting the stage at the Houston Improv for a run of can't-miss performances. Let's take a look at why they call him the king of comedy.
White kids talk back, they get time out. Black kids talk back, they get knocked the out. The only way you can do 100 miles an hour in a Hyundai is if you're going down a steep hill full of fat people with a heavy tailwind. You ever watch my act? You ever see my? I don't even do no fucking racist joke. So I'm gonna just do one. Okay. Okay, if you can see the inside of your pants pocket, you starting to gain weight. If the pleats in your pants deplete, you starting to gain weight. Big dude, listen to me. If the elastic in your drawers, the elastic roll over a little bit, like curl, like you starting to gain weight. A woman goes into the pharmacy. She said, "Hi, could I have some arsenic, please?" "What you gonna do with that arsenic?" She said, "I just want to poison my husband." He said, "Lady, I can't give you no arsenic to poison your husband." So she reaches in her pocket, pulls out a picture, and sits it on the counter. He picked it up and looked at it. It was a picture of his wife making love to her husband. He said, "Oh, damn, you didn't say you had a prescription."
And he is here, Michael Colyar. Glad to have you on The Factor Uncensored, appearing at the Improv. You have been a busy guy and, you know, an incredible, stellar career from movies to the stage. It just goes on and on. And we're glad to have you here in Houston. What can we expect from you here at the Improv?
Thank you for having me here. Truth. And fun and funny truth. And I'm so excited. That lady left before I got a chance to show her my Barack Obama watch. You know, I got 11 of them.
Angela Box gone?
Before she leaves, she got to see this. She gonna love it. I love it when white folks ask me what time it is. I say, "You gonna look yourself." And they go, they start running. You know, I talk mostly about love these days because, you know, I'm in love. And I've been married 907 days to the most incredible woman I've ever met besides my mama, okay? And I knew she was the one by the third week. I called everybody who thought they was fooling with me and said, don't call me no more. Don't call me no more. And she has it's changed my whole life. My life has gotten better every single solitary day since I met her, you know? And so she just gives my heart something extra to thrive about. So I talk about love and the power of love. And, you know, God, that's my dude. So if you're talking about
You gave me an incredible gift when you came out here. A little small baby Jesus. Can you see
everybody
that?
can use a little Jesus in their life.
There it is,
just a
right
little Jesus,
there.
you know? And so I talk about God, I talk about life, I talk about our society and being good to each other. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of fighting. We always can find a reason to fight. One thing you won't see is me on these shows talking about other people and dragging them down. For me, that's not the way to win. The way to win is we communicate, we talk to each other. But it's also funny. So my show is jokes and routines. So it's some of all of it. You know, so I come in, I might tell a clever joke, but then I want to break down and do a whole story. You know, and then we always talk about my addiction because I'm an addict. So I did crack for 23 years. As of March 1st, I have 18 years of pure sobriety.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that, but I thank God for that. That's why every breath I take is a gift from God. So I walk every day with an attitude of gratitude. So all of this is encompassed in the show, but the show is hilarious. It's a stitch. The chicken is there. and
That's the coolest chicken I've ever seen.
Everybody needs their own rubber chicken. And you know, this thing brings laughter to people who don't ever laugh. You know, like my favorite restaurant for breakfast is Cracker Barrel. And you know they try to take the cracker and the barrel off the Cracker Barrel? Oh, them white folks get mad.
What do you have then?
They get mad. You know, I love Cracker Barrel. No. So I was in the Cracker Barrel once, and there was an elderly white dude sitting up there with overalls with his back turned to us. I squeezed the chicken, and he reached around and looked pretty much like the lady, the politician. What's your name, Mama? You're so gorgeous.
Jolanda Jones.
I like that name. Jolanda Jones. You have to say like you mean it. And when I hit that chicken the first time, she looked back there. Some people are bothered by it, which tickles me, so it make me do it again. So when I did it again, the old white dude turned back, and then I did it, and then you could see his body hunch up. Now he's laughing. Then I do something like, now he's moving. When he got through eating, he walked back to our table and said, that chicken made my whole life. You know, and the thing is, I only sell 2 at a show. And the guy was in the back of the show in Atlanta, and he said, man, I'll give you $20 for that chicken. I said, bring it up. And his wife said, baby, give him 30. He said, I'm gonna give him 40. And the audience got quiet. And he walked up to the stage and he gave me 2 crisp $20 bills. I handed him the chicken. When he walked back, I said, I paid $4.85 for that chicken. You know? So the joy is in it. And God is good. And if we could bless and lift and heal and make you laugh at the same time, then we're creating magic, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, is learning to live together and work together instead of having divisiveness. So that's the kind of stuff I do. But I don't want to run out here before I mention my book. I will be selling my new children's book.
Really quick, we're almost
Lil
out of
Bobby
time.
White. That's why I'm going fast. Lil Bobby White, but the kids are black. And it's the story of a kid who always wins because he always chooses to do the right thing. It's just a story we don't teach anymore to be good for goodness sake. But in fact, we don't teach them anything. We give our kids a device, we sit them in a corner, we come back 8 years later, and we don't know why they're sitting on the bed with a pistol rolling joints and calling us out of our names. We got to remember who we are as parents.
All right,
That's
Michael
all.
Colyar, there's the information. May 1st through the 3rd, Houston Improv, 6 shows.
My first book. A funny thing happened on the way to the White House. I knocked on the door and a brother answered. Okay,
There you go.
See
There
you later.
go. We'll be back.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I said.
Get more value, more.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. A Brooklyn man beaten inside a liquor store by two undercover detectives is filing a $100 million lawsuit against the city, NYPD, and all of the officers involved. Timothy Brown made the announcement at a news conference on April 14th. The detectives with the Brooklyn North Narcotics thought Brown was a drug associate of another suspect they had arrested, but it ended up being a case of mistaken identity. Brown is using a cane to walk and has his arm in a sling. His face is battered and bruised. His lawyers say he needed about 36 stitches in his leg that had been sliced open after the two detectives dragged him through the broken glass on the floor.
I was brutally beaten for no reason. I work, I'm on my business, I'm a taxpaying citizen, and what happened to me should never happen to anyone else. It was wrong, and it was disgusting, and my life will never be the same.
Now, the NYPD's Internal Affairs Bureau is investigating. The two detectives and their sergeant have been placed on modified duty. And here are some of the texts that have come in throughout the show from those who have been watching. One person said, "No one cried for white folk when Harris County gerrymandered them out of commissioner seats there." Kimmel joke was rude. Yes, we have freedom of speech. However, let's unite the country and encourage each other. Trump needs to man up and stop all of that crying. Those are your texts coming in here on The Factor Uncensored. Join the party, send your text. Stop trying to call me, damn it. I'm not going to answer. Don't call, text us. And coming up here on The Factor Uncensored, zero credentials, but they're experts from love coaches to self-made millionaires with $20 in the bank. We're pulling the mask off of the so-called online gurus, getting rich off your bank account while leaving folk with nothing but broken promises. Stay with us here on The Factor Uncensored, and we'll continue your comments. Don't call, text.
You're watching the Isiah Factor Uncensored.
They're online from sunup to sundown, and these newly named social media grifters are looking to hustle you. They promise love, land, and of course wealth. But are they legit and qualified to advise you? Just ask Effie Best, who lost thousands as a victim but had visions of making millions in a marketing business.
Well, you know, you're supposed to sell product and then also get people to work up under you. And it's called like an upline. And I had that, but it just never paid out. I don't know what happened in that process.
And we're talking about social media grifters tonight. Let's get to our guest. Joining us now, real estate agent Jay Bradley, love expert Dr. Angela Jones. I didn't mean to call you that. I said that to Sonora as a joke. She wrote it down. Social media expert Karen Diamond, certified public accountant Tito Latajobi, and financial advisor Raymond Quee. Glad to have you all on fact. So when you see those individuals on social media advising people on relationships, on love, what are your thoughts? What's going through your mind? And you know they're not like a Dr. Jones.
I know. Well, the thing is, you don't have to be a doctor, but you do have to think about who it is that you're getting advice from. A lot of these people are now going to ChatGPT and using AI. They're typing in a subject and they're just getting their script from there, and they're claiming that they're an expert when really it's ChatGPT that's an expert. You know, a lot of people are saying they're therapists, but they're actually, you know, they're coaches or they're aspiring therapists, or maybe they're not even in school yet. So it is dangerous because we're getting, 3 ways to heal yourself from something that you don't really heal from, or 3 ways to change your life, and it's like that's not really going to change your life, but people believe them because they're charismatic, and it is hurting our industry.
And Raymond, for you and your industry, you guys are monitored by individuals who monitor everything you say, you do, and you see these people on social media giving financial advice, and they say, well, I'm not a financial expert, but, and that comes at the end of the spill. How concerned are you about those out there?
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're licensed for a reason, right? We spend our time getting our education at school, getting these licenses, and when you're a financial guru, when you're a guru online and you give advice, it's so easy to not, to not have any accountability, right? And so for me, it's like, man, I just, you just try to, you just want to, everything that you do, you have licenses to back you up. So,
and Tito, for you, is it almost offensive to the work that you put in, and you see people running amok online on social media?
It can get offensive at times when you have people comparing you to things they've seen online. One of the things that's very common for me is a lot of my clients forward me things they've seen on social media, asking me to validate if it's true or not, and I'm like, check the page that you got this from before you even send it to me. So yeah, it can get frustrating at times, but I mean, we know how to maneuver through it.
And what we hear a lot, Tito, now is individuals talking about, I can write off everything. I can write off a car. I can write off my house. I can write off my office, and you don't even have a business.
Yeah, so the crazy part about that is a lot of people are asking me if they should go buy a Range Rover, and they don't have the money for the Range Rover or the business to deduct that from their income. So it's kind of like, no. But it's social media grifters.
And Jay, what are you seeing in the real estate market?
Man, the impact is the worst part, right? Because you have somebody that they get sold this story. These guys are great storytellers, by the way. I mean, they can tell a story better than a kid in trouble, man. And so when it comes down to it, and then people believe in that, and then they invest their life savings or invest half of what they have, and then they expect this great return. Real estate wealth isn't built like that. You're not going to do one investment, then investment over $5,000, and all of a sudden you're a millionaire, and then people, they get disheartened with the process. And not only do they, but they talk to other people. They talk to their church members, they talk to family members, and then they're like, oh, well, we should never invest in real estate because I lost money on it, right? And then you have a whole community. Real estate is one of the best wealth building tools that you will ever see. It's heavily leveraged. And so when you come in, you can put $5,000 and buy a $100,000 investment. People need to build their net worth, and this is really hurting it.
And Karen, I'm sure you've seen, and that's the danger that we all face out there, the victimization where you've lost thousands of dollars, potentially your life savings, your retirement, thinking this will give you the boost you need.
Yep, and unfortunately, you know, my industry where I make a living is social media. I have a social media agency. We've been in business for 12 years. So it's
Are there some people who are like, I'm not touching you?
Right, but it's a legitimate source of income. We've serviced businesses ethically for 12 years. However, social media is the source of this vile product that is the grifter, and it's people that are trying to project a lifestyle to inspire other people, but they can't even keep up with it themselves. And for me, just an age-old quote that I live by is, money talks and wealth whispers. So if they're doing all the talking and they're loud and proud, you know, then you just that's a red flag. And I always say this, you know, every success is 10 years in the making. Every one of us here has been practicing in our field for over 10 years. So there's something to be said about that for the new overnight successes that are coming out on social media that can't keep up with that lifestyle.
All right, when we come back, we'll get some advice from you guys on what to look for in an expert in whatever area of expertise you provide. We'll be back with our guests here on The Factor Uncensored. We're talking about the social media grifter out there, not Malia.
The hottest celebrity.
I know a lot of people not about to like what I'm about to say, and that's cool. But grifters are one of the worst things that happen in the black community in the 21st century. I'm not saying this to be put on a pedestal. I don't need applause. I'm only saying it because it's real.
And of course, it touches every community out there, not just the black community. Welcome back. $1 Million Lifestyle, zero credentials, and they're coming for your bank account. We're continuing our conversation about those online grifters. Our guests are back. Dr. Jones, if someone is looking for an expert like you, meaning experience, what should they look for if they're trusting someone with the most intimate details of their life?
And that's the thing. You have to remember you are trusting someone with your innermost thoughts in your life. So you have to invest in researching. Are they licensed? Where do they get their education? Just because it says doctor, what are they a doctor of? This person could be a doctor of chemistry and they're online talking about love, right? So you have to make sure just because it says doctor and they're online doesn't mean it actually matches. Make sure the licensing is not about insurance. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant just recently said she doesn't take insurance because, I mean, she doesn't want to be licensed because of insurance, but licensing is about protecting protecting the client and protecting you. It is a place where it holds people accountable. So you want to make sure that people are credentialed and have licenses for the thing that they're telling you about. This is your life. This is your mind. You have to be careful. You don't want just anyone digging in your mind just willy-nilly because of a 30-second video online.
And Tito, for people who are looking for an expert like you, what would you tell them to look for before just following instructions on social media in a video?
Absolutely. Piggybacking off what she said, licensing, education, experience, all of those things are important. If you can't look somebody up, then chances are they probably just started doing it, and they may not have the experience that you desire. Now, there's nothing wrong with somebody who's new entering into a field, but I mean, if expertise is what you're seeking, that you want to find an expert.
And Raymond, that is part of the definition of a grifter. They come, they set up shop, and they move on. So you can't really look them up.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for people like me who have securities licenses, right? You can Google FINRA broker check and look them up. It'll tell you your experience and all of that. So at the end of the day, look, we're all licensed here. We spent the time and energy to get that education, to put in the work. And so, you know, that's what backs us up with that. So.
All right. And Jay, your thoughts?
You know, verify, explore, and talk to people, right? You want to examine the verify that they do have a license, right? If somebody's saying, oh, I'm a real estate investor, that ain't saying nothing, right? I mean, an investor is one thing, but actually a licensed real estate broker, we're held to certain standards, and there's Texas Real Estate Commission, so you can go have a complaint, and it gets looked at, every single complaint gets looked at in marriage. An investor, I can wake up tomorrow and say I'm an investor, and I've never done a single deal, but you're going to hand me millions of dollars or thousands of dollars, and trust me with that. Right? So, and then you also want to examine their past experiences. Talk to past clients. Talk to people. You've done all these developments. Okay, great. Give me your people. Let me talk to the last 3 people you developed for. Let me see your last 3 closing receipts. Let me see that part. And then talk to other people that you know and you trust and see if they know them. Get some references. I had a situation where a guy tried to get me for some money. I mean, I've been doing this for 26 years, man. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm about to get you.
The guitar's about to be the guillotine, you know? And that's real. And then I had my attorney look over the documents, and he's like, oh, you don't need to use your attorney, man. You wasting time with it. First of all, man, my attorney has my back. I'm paying him. You're not paying him. I'm paying him. So he's going to look out for me. And at the end of the day, we didn't do the deal, but he ended up screwing somebody else. So you got to be careful.
And Karen, are there some gray areas out there where people may not have to have the licensing, and they can still work and they can still do magic?
Absolutely.
Tell
like
us about that.
I'm a college graduate, but you don't have to have a license, right? I am certified by Meta I'm a certified agency partner through Meta, so I do have access to Meta as needed to support my clients in whatever way they need to be supported. But no, you don't necessarily need a license. And I think something that the homework and the due diligence that needs to be done that was kind of left out from the panel, or that I can add to, was that when you're seeking any service, whether it be coaching, therapy, real estate, TPA, social media, I think it's just important to lay out expectations. Just have that hashed out, because I think that's where people get into trouble with not having the clearest of expectations, understanding what they're getting themselves into.
And of course, we bring Dr. Angela in because when you lack that logic, walking into, you're dealing with emotions. So how do you tell people, take a moment, think about it before you rush at this deal that appears too good to be true?
The demographic that is being aimed at the most is 18 to 39. It's not the older people like it used to be. It is the younger crowd right now. And they're aiming at their vulnerabilities, their insecurities. They're looking at what's going on in the media, on the news, and they're pulling people in that way by emotionally making them more angry or emotionally making them feel more lonely. And that is how they pull people in. If it feels so good, too good to be true, it likely is. And you know, like she's right, you don't have to be licensed in certain industries, but your body of work can show that you are someone that can be trusted. Just send a DM, ask if you see someone following the same person, hey, do you know this person? Right? I literally just did that today about somebody else that I was looking at, and I was like, hey, I see that you follow this person. Do you know this person? How you know, are they good? You just have to think about yourself. You are an investment, and these people see you as an investment as well, and they will take and then they will disappear. And you know, you just have to be careful.
There's something that I see in my industry is that they will, like for example, this guy was trying to, because I'm on the board of directors and I have other things that I've done in my industry, and I've been in it 26 years. You want to take pictures with me and post me on your social media. So then that all of a sudden
have to be careful about that.
It looks like all of a sudden that we've done business together. And I had people call me like, "Oh man,
steal your credibility."
So it takes the if somebody's trying to say, "Okay, we did this with this person," no, I'm distancing myself. I distance myself 100% because I know that there's going to be somebody that sees me, and I've had people, man, I invested with old buddy because y'all were cool. I ain't never invested with that dude, man. I don't know him.
Social media is impressionable. It's impressionable.
And so you really got to call these people, and it's on the people that have actually been in this business for a while, and I'm calling not us, but people out. If somebody takes a picture with a CEO or somebody that's on a board or this and that, and you're saying and you're following that people and you're doing a video with that person, but you know somebody's shady, you need to either say, hey, I don't work with this person, for the record, I don't work with them, or unfollow them and untag yourself.
But you take the most pictures. I just want to say that.
If I smile at my picture, that means I'm cool with
That
them.
means it's legit.
Then I don't mess with them.
Thank you all for joining us on this special edition of Dr. Angela After Dark. Still ahead, a question tonight: does getting older mean lowering your standards of cheating? I didn't expect that. Next, we're tackling the fierce generational clash over infidelity. Stay with us here. You never know what the hell you're going to get on The Factor. Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Is cheating an absolute deal breaker, or can it be negotiable? While older generations often turned a blind eye to accepted affairs as the cost of a long-term marriage, some younger couples are drawing a hard line and refusing to compromise at all. Joining us to talk about it tonight, Rules of Loyalty, licensed private investigator Terrence, counselor Brick City Buddha, entrepreneur Sanyika Shakur, and luxury travel advisor Tiffany Simple. Tiffany, where do you stand in this conversation? You think it's okay?
I'm so glad you started with me, Isiah.
First lady in the group. Set the tone for it.
I want to set the tone because for generations, our community, we've loved and listened to the beautiful songwriter Betty Wright. Betty Wright is most known for a lot of songs, but After the Pain being one that you play at the cookout, Betty makes mention of having a piece of man is better than having no man at all. And I believe Betty may have led us down a doom's path with that statement, because that mentality was passed down for generations to generations, even right now, whereby most women now are saying, or many women, I won't say most, are saying, hey, I'd rather have a peace of mind over a piece of a man. And that's where the line draws.
All right, Brick City, your thoughts about this?
Yeah, as a counselor at this point, I've worked with about 350 couples over the last 8 years. And I see the fallout. I see the damage and the cowardice, really, when it comes to infidelity, especially when men are the main ones who are the culprits. And I was talking to my wife earlier. At this point, I feel like it's almost neck and neck as far as being on par with the damage from chattel slavery, with the damage from the civil rights movement, with the damage from Jim Crow. What's happening in especially black homes is tearing apart not just those homes, but communities at large. We want to get on with the picket signs, we want to march and things of this nature, but the real war is happening in our bedrooms every single day.
All right, and Terrence, what are you seeing out there as a private investigator?
I see it both ways. There's no one side, man or female. The calls come in from men and females. It's even across the playing field.
And so, are you looking at shattered hearts on the other end when you have to deliver that information? Look, we done our investigation, and here are the, old school, here are the pictures, or here's a video. Are you looking at damaged people who are on the receiving end of learning that the other is cheating?
Absolutely. But what we give them is...
And we have some of your video on screen as you're talking, but go ahead, Terrence.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite cases, but absolutely.
Out there snitching, but go ahead.
It's not snitching. We're just giving peace of mind to people who need it. They want answers, because sometimes they ask their spouse first. But, they hiding it, so they'll call me for answers, and we'll go out and do surveillance and get them the peace of mind they need.
There you go. And Sanyika, your thoughts about this?
Man, I think I'm going to take a different approach. I think we're dealing more with a theory and a habit. So the theory of here in America is one woman, one man, together, happy and forever and after, right? But the habit that men have displayed over the thousands of years is more than one woman. So the habit hasn't caught up with the theory. It is reason why men are sloppy. For most of the time in human history, we didn't have to be sloppy. We didn't have to be hiding this relationships that we had. And just far as like our grandparents, they valued family more than they valued what I want, what I feel like. I have this family together, this man's taking care of this house. I know he has something else going on, but he's home every day. My kids are taken care of, I'm taken care of. Why do I want to create more problems?
But why not just be honest about it? Because the act of the infidelity is, of course, the sex.
Yes,
the cheating is you lying about it. So if we're going to do it like that, be single, be poly, establish that before you actually go into the relationship. But once you are in it under the guise of a man saying, I'm going to be with you and be with you exclusively, the moment you break that, you're breaking your integrity as a man.
Yeah.
Why not just come out from the rip and avoid the cheating and ask, are you okay with poly life?
I definitely understand being honest with that, and I have no problem with that. Cheating is wrong, lying is wrong. But if I'm telling you from the jump, like, look, I have feelings for this woman, hey, I love you. This ain't the ideal situation, but this is what it is. This is what's gonna happen. And to be honest with you, men will say, I'm gonna be with you forever, but we have more history than not that that's not gonna happen.
And Brick City, for those who say, and Tiffany, you can hop in, we're gonna take a break. We'll come back and let you guys know. I think Tiffany won't say something, and I won't get in trouble. We'll be back. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Our guest, we're continuing our conversation about cheating. Tiffany, take it over.
I just want to say quickly that we've lost our way with how beautiful love can be and the commitment of love. I think that nowadays a lot of men will refer back to our grandparents and saying, you know, what they had, but there was a lot of pain that was also endured during those times too, because women did not have jobs and they didn't have a lot of say-so. So Granny had to be quiet most times, because if he's going out here around the corner doing his thing, because you know she's at home with the kids. I would love for us to get back to the basics of love and start appreciating and valuing the transparency of love.
We got time for one more, guys. Hop in.
Yeah, I would say I think a lot of people don't realize how cheating affects our bottom line outside of just the relationship. When you look at the emotional spectrum and the megahertz and frequencies attached to each emotion, even above love is authenticity. So being truthful and honest will send out a vibration into your world that will attract abundance, resources, people, places, and things that will benefit your entire family structure. You break that tie when you start to get into the cheating.
Thank you guys for a wonderful conversation. Appreciate you joining us here on The Factor. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Tiffany?